Good afternoon, everybody. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Welcome to the March 17th Business Education Series, our first of the quarter, or excuse me, our first of the year. We're excited to have Joe Ford with NetVantage Marketing here to talk a little bit about some of the digital trends and must-know items for 2021. We're going to give folks just another minute or so to continue to work through the technology and get logged on. Just a couple of Zoom webinar how-tos. You will be muted and the camera's off, so we'll be in presenting mode. But we do encourage you to utilize the chat and the Q&A functions to upload questions. We have left plenty of time in the latter part of the program for Q&A and dialogue with Joe. So please upload those questions. I will be monitoring them. And again, like I said, welcome to the Business Education Series. Really the goal of today's program is to support our small to medium-sized businesses, our nonprofits, by providing them with tangible takeaways to help them save time and money. The whole goal of this program is to be action-oriented, so you can go right back to your office and start implementing some of the great tools, tips, and resources that you're gonna learn from today's program. Today's program is really born out of a partnership, a continued partnership with our folks at Frazier Law Firm. We're pleased to have Eric Stumpus with Frazier, who's their marketing director, and we're going to give him just a couple seconds to chat about the great work that Frazier does.
Hello, thank you, Michelle. We're so glad you could join us today. Looks to be a great and timely topic with Joe this afternoon. Frazier Jabilcock Law Firm is proud to sponsor this series. Because we recognize how valuable it is for the Chamber to provide members like all of us with resources such as this series. Frazier Jabilcock is one of Michigan's longest established full-service law firms that has offices in Detroit, Grand Rapids, and headquartered right here in Lansing in the Bogie Tower. Some of our practice areas include business and tax, cottage law, intellectual property, litigation, and trust and estates, just to name a few. But our attorneys are skilled in more than 70 niche areas, especially focusing on the small to medium-sized business needs. When it matters in Michigan, you can rely on us. You can learn more at Frazier, F-R-A-S-E-R, lawfirm.com. Thank you, and we hope that you enjoy the presentation, and happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks again for the continued partnership, and we look forward to another awesome year with you guys.
Of course.
At this time, I'd like to turn the program over to Joe Ford, who is the managing partner of NetVantage Marketing. Joe, if you could take it away and provide us with some great information.
Thank you very much, Michelle. It's certainly an honor to present today to everybody. Obviously, a little bit different format. I think I did one of these back in 2013 at the University Club, and it was a great event then. It was obviously in person, and I think that's where we'd all rather be, but we're going to make the best of it here. My name is Joe Ford, and with NetVantage Marketing, we're a search engine marketing consulting firm based in East Lansing. We have an office in Grand Rapids as well, and we have a very small office out in Denver, Colorado. I hope everybody's enjoying their sunny St. Patrick's Day, and I appreciate you guys joining us today. I know everybody has different activities sometimes today, sometimes in the morning, so I get it. I know I've got my green on here. So we'll get started. I want to make sure that we get through all the content and then also leave time, obviously, for questions. And my goal today is to give an overview of the trends that are happening right now in the digital marketing world, but by no means will I be able to cover all the topics because it is such a sprawling field. But I do want to give some insight in terms of what we're seeing day to day as we work with our clients. Our clients are as large as a Greenstone Farm Credit Services to as small as an outdoor expression landscaping company. Obviously we've got clients across the country. So we see a lot of different avenues in terms of how folks are using digital marketing. And then when we go through the trends, the one thing, because we all want something to go with, is I want to make sure that we actually look very tangibly at something. So you can literally, the old adage of go back to your desk after the meeting and pull something up. Obviously you're already there, probably at home like I am, with a tangible takeaway of looking at Google Search Console, which I'll get into, which is oftentimes very overlooked. Everybody's probably somewhat familiar or very familiar with Google Analytics. You may be terrified to even try to look at it based on your website's traffic, but at least you're aware of it. A lot of people aren't even aware of what Google Search Console is, and it's a really good tool, and it's free. So we want to make sure we employ it because we can use it to our advantage. So let's get started here. And I think the goal to Michelle, as questions come in, ask, and then what we'll do is we'll take them on as an order at the end, so that as we start progressing to, and I'll keep my eye on the clock to make sure that we're not running too far behind. So there's two main players right now in the digital marketing ecosystem. And yes, I'm not leaving out Apple, and I'm not leaving out Amazon even's playing in it as well. And there's other major players, but the two main ones that we live in every day are Google and Facebook. Yes, Microsoft, Bing, they're there, but still, and we've been doing this for 12 years. We've almost 13 now. We formed the company in 2008, myself and Adam Hennigy, my partner. And again, we're small, but we've been running it, and almost every client we work with, Bing's okay, but it's kind of an afterthought. They're growing in market share in terms of the search market share, but Google and Facebook are the two main players. So with that in mind, when you look at using search to try to show up number one for whatever your business does, it's really important to have the lens and the context that these are no longer just nice services that are available to everybody. These are monetization, money-making machines that have a quarterly earnings and stock price and shareholders to answer to now, just like every other major corporation. Google reported $59 billion in Q4 of 2020 of revenue, of which 46.2 billion was clicks, basically clicks, which for them is advertising revenue. Yeah, there's different channels, but it's essentially $46.2 billion, a couple of clicks at a time. And we'll go into what that means here in a moment. Facebook, same thing. Again, keep in mind, we know it's free to use Google. We know it's free to use Facebook. How are they generating this revenue? For the most part, a high percentage of it is from businesses that want to advertise on Google or on Facebook. And we are all inundated with ads now, and we know what they are, but maybe we don't know how they work. But just keep in mind that they're in place to continue to maximize that revenue. That's not going to go away. Generally, in American corporation strategy, people don't get around the room and go, I think we're good. Like we're okay. We don't need to grow anymore. Obviously, that's not going to happen, right? So like you're going to see more of a monetization ad. Well, what's that mean? Well, here is a search engine result from 2015, forklifts for sale, Houston, Texas. And you can see here, I purposely took this way back when. This was a kind of a laptop view, not a mobile view, obviously, which is we'll talk about a little bit, but a laptop view. And you can see we've highlighted here the paid ads and the organic listings. Even back then, you were starting to get an influx of paid ads into the system. And again, very quickly, and again, I'm going to try to avoid going down rabbit holes here. If nobody at this point, any of the advertisers here, the forklift sale, used forklifts, I'll use my mouse here to kind of hover over it. The big Joe Walkie forklift, none of these companies have paid anything yet. Nobody's paid a thing yet. The payment to Google comes when we click on one of those search engine result listings. And I'm going to refer to the SERP a lot in today's discussion. That is the search engine result page. So down here are organic listings. And again, these are all presentations in and of themselves, but very quickly at that moment in time, Google ranked those 1 through 100 and a pretty amazing 50,300 results, and they ranked them organically. And there was factors as to why. There was on-page factors. That's where you hear the meta descriptions, page titles, body copy, the domain strength, the technical factors, and there's never any ties in organic. You never see two listings that are next to each other. There's always a vertical winner and a loser. And so what we have here is your organic and your paid. Now, most people will tell me, they go, well, I don't click on the paid. I don't trust the paid, which is totally fair. If you're savvy, then you tend to go down to organics. Google's realizing this too, because this is their bottom line. This is their $46 billion a quarter right here. As you click on these ads, say that these in this auction model, the top listing for lifttruckshouston.net was $3.50. They're making that money $3.50 at a time because of the sheer volume of the market share and the sheer volume of the searches that are conducted on Google every hour, every minute, every second, you can see where these numbers add up. Why is this important to you? Well, in 2017, we started to see, and every search is a little bit different, don't get me wrong, but here you are now with paid ad, now a mapped listing, putting more localization into the search engine result page because they know that has a higher probability rate to get a click. Paid ad, but we still have our organic map listings. Here's some map listings here. Here at the very top of this screenshot, this is the fold, is an organic listing here as well. Okay, so this is, again, now we're getting into, this is 3.5, 4 years ago. Here it is today. Nowhere here do you see any organic listing whatsoever. And I just did another search a bit ago, and I don't know if I'll mess with pulling it up. But again, you don't see a single organic click option above the fold. So they're dominating this critical real estate now with paid listings. So what that means for you as a business is organic dead? No, it's not. It's still incredibly important for a variety of reasons, particularly with local SEO and particularly in content development and that type of thing. But to ignore Google ads and playing in this space could be at the peril of not getting consistent clicks, because as you can imagine, the percentages of clicks of people clicking on these listings is going to be higher. And then think about that for a moment, if you will, in the mobile environment. I should have screenshotted that. I didn't. That's even worse, because your ability to decipher what an ad is and is not on mobile is even harder. So again, you may say, well, I don't click on the paid ads. That's fair. You may not. You may be savvy enough to bypass that. There's a reason, though, why Google made $46 billion in advertising revenue last quarter. Somebody's clicking on those ads, and that's the general public. So you may or may not need to incorporate this into your digital marketing strategy, and just know that as you saw that trend from here to here to here, that will only continue. They will not sit there and go, this is good, I think we're making enough money off this. Of course not. They're only going to continue to try to maximize the click generating revenue opportunities. They do it in so many subtle little ways now. A great example is, you may have wondered, why can't I see keywords that are driving traffic to my site through Google through organic searches? Well, that's a great question. Wouldn't that be nice to see? Let's use a landscaping company this time of year. I'd like to see how many people are searching on spring cleanup or on lawn mowing as they look ahead to the warmer months of May to cut the grass. I would like to be able to go into my Google Analytics account and pull that up. Nope. No, that's been discontinued due to privacy reasons. Okay, Google, and that happened a number of years ago. That's not a new development. But if you ran a paid campaign and you were bidding on those keywords, so when somebody did a search for, lawn mowing service, East Lansing, Michigan, absolutely will give you that data right down to the keyword level. You can see that. But again, remember, you're paying per click on those keywords. So that is a huge trend that will only continue, and you have to, it's their world, it's their universe. You have to kind of play along with it. Again, not every company, not every business, not all of you sitting out there today need to use the pay per click listing option in Google to generate good traffic. You don't have to. But again, when we talk about trends, I want to make you aware of what is coming down and will only continue to be a monetization trend of the search engine result page. So that's item number one. We talked about that. And the other piece of the puzzle too is, organic is still important, but maybe it's only part of your keyword strategy. So as you're going through and you're trying to do your keyword research in terms of, okay, how does our target audiences search for what we have to offer, and where do we stack up and rank out versus our competitors on, on one of these search engine result pages, either paid or organic? So in some cases, maybe you have to use paid keywords because the organic listings aren't coming up very well for a variety of reasons. In other cases, maybe you say, there isn't a lot of paid competition. We're only seeing an ad or two come up based on what we do because it's very specialized or something like that. So we can continue to just use our organic SEO strategy to rank out high in Google organically to get those clicks versus turning to Google ads to gain that click share. So that's very important to keep in mind. A singular strategy may not work for all the keywords you're pursuing. If you have a lot of different products and services that you offer, keep in mind that there's probably going to be several keywords that are related to those services that you have to kind of figure out as to what and how the market, how the market's going to search for those. So say we do want to use Google Ads. And again, I want to make sure I don't jump around too much. Anytime you try to get in these listings right here, where you say, I'm either going to use products, images, or I'm going to use, write out these search ads here. And keep in mind, this is ad copy. This is ad writing right here. This is where you've said, hey, I'm going to raise my hand and set a max ceiling bid of whatever the market's kind of demanding right now, plus the ad quality of what I have. Say it's $2 per click. And so in the algorithm of the auction, you're going to show up here. This is all ran through a program called Google Ads, which again that's one of the Google programs that isn't free to use. It's one of the only ones that isn't. You can certainly set things up for free, but once you start actually wanting to advertise and get into a search end result page using Google Ads, it's time to get the credit card out. So what's happening there is on a trend level is that Google is really trying to push to small, medium businesses in particular. So large companies, I should back up. Large companies are going to have probably an in-house person managing this, and they're also going to have a dedicated, Google company rep managing this and helping them out. Not managing it, but helping them out and advising this. Because say they spend, $500,000 a month. Well, probably most of us out here and out there aren't spending near that. Your typical ad budget may be like $500 a month. Maybe it's $2,000 a month. I can tell you just bread and butter, and this is no secret, our general average spend level with clients is around $2,000 to $3,000 a month with Google Ads. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more. So that's kind of your running average. Maybe it's $1,500, whatever it is. So even at those smaller levels, remember every click counts to that revenue bottom line. So Google Ads has dispersed this network of thousands of what they call Googlers to call you. And maybe these people have called you and email you and push you and set up meetings. In those meetings, this is going to sound really like anti-Google, but it kind of is. In those meetings, they're going to get you to move towards a lot of automation. Things called responsive search ads, things called add in more keywords, use maximize clicks as a bidding option versus manually saying, I'll only pay $2 and nothing more for this click for this keyword. No, don't do that. Just let us figure it out. We'll do the auto bidding for you. In some cases that may work. In most cases, what it's going to mean is a lot of money in their pocket and some performance for you, but not as optimal as possible. So when you set your daily budgets in Google Ads, when you look at your marketing ROI, be stingy. When those representatives call you, and if you've started a Google Ads campaign, chances are within a few weeks you're going to get contacted. If they try to push you into ideas, my best advice there is, and again, some of the ideas they'll come up with are actually okay. They're actually fine. Like they'll come up with some suggestions. You're like, okay, I hadn't thought about that. That's good. For extensions and that type of thing in your ad copy and your ad writing. Most of them you want to just politely nod your head and say, you know what, we'll look into that, and then don't. They're just trying to get you to spend more money with them. They're paid completely on commission, which is why they'll also call you more than like a used car warranty salesperson will. So try to avoid them if you can. I know that sounds really anti-Google, and I would probably be, chastised in the Google universe for telling you this, but I'm telling you this because I don't care about them. I care about your bottom line. So keep that in mind when, again, you're using Google Ads to try to show up in these listings right here. And the other part of the last bullet, be comfortable with what you want to do. Most people don't really know what they're doing yet in this environment. So, start slow. Don't start with this crazy, all the budgets are managed on a daily basis. Start slower. Okay. Go with a slow daily budget, get a feel for what your average keywords are. Remember, something like divorce attorney or bankruptcy attorney, you could be seeing like $60 a click. Something like a very specific part for a company that's in manufacturing could be more like 75 cents a click. There could be a huge disparity on what these click budgets look like. You've got to figure that out on your own and not have a rep kind of like, walk you through that. So keep that in mind. So here's the takeaway tool. And again, I apologize if some of you haven't gone into Google Ads, so this is going to look like Greek to you, but if you have, use your actual search query reports. So remember, a keyword is not a keyword. It is a variation. So if I am advertising on shoes and sneakers, and I'm say I'm a shoe company selling shoes, and I put into my keyword category, I want to come up for tennis shoes, but I leave it as what's called a broad match keyword. Somebody could possibly search Crocs for sale and my ad for tennis shoes come up. And generally speaking, even if your ad copy tries to qualify that user, they may still click on your ad. Now you've just wasted 50 cents, which will add up very quickly. So you want to be really smart about how you set your keywords. When you are looking at your data in Google Ads, there's a tool, and I've highlighted it here, called search terms. Click on that, study it. Two things will happen there. Number one, you'll figure out what not to show up for. And sometimes that's half the battle in this. So there's something called negative keywords where you can tell Google in your keyword list, I don't want to show up when somebody types in something. I'm doing an HR campaign right now for a local company, and they to work for them, you have to be 21 or over. And one of the things that'll happen is that, you know, you'll get teenagers looking for jobs. I don't want teenagers. I don't want that person clicking. So, excuse me. And so you have to put a negative keyword list, you know, jobs for teens, jobs for 16-year-olds, jobs for 19-year-olds. That's an example of using negative keywording. That way, if they do that search, I don't come up. I don't even risk spending that $2.05 for the click. The other thing search terms report will give you is competitive data, not competitive data, but market intelligence really is a better way to do it. You can see what the market is verbatim, actually typing into the search engine and what you're showing up for. And that will give you really crucial intelligence as well. It's one of the most overlooked, underutilized, but crucial and critical reports that you can pull out of Google Ads. Let's change gears. We're talking about SERPs and we're looking at different things. And this is local SEO. And actually, I pulled this up on my browser, but I guess it's right here so we can use it. This is just our company, obviously. So if you haven't used Google My Business, I do recommend it. Even if you say, well, we have a global footprint, that's fine. But in the search engine result organic playbook, having your company location or locations, if you have several across North America or whatever it may be across the state, having each of those registered and listed and verified with Google will help you out in the organic picture. Even if you're serving a global audience and you don't care about local business, it will help. Many of you probably do have a local footprint and you do want to show. So gaining a Google login, log in, go to Google My Business, and if you haven't done so already, create an account. Now there's a hitch. When you get it verified, as you can imagine, they want it to be authentic. You do have to use a physical address. It cannot be a PO box. And then within a couple of weeks, you will actually receive, ironically, via the postal mail, a postcard that's got a 4 or 6 digit PIN on it. You put that PIN in, you're now verified to officially show up here and manage that listing. Now, you may still show up here just by accident. Google's indexed it, they see it, they've gathered other signals, but you want to control that data. Like you want to know when your hours are, or so you want to dictate when your hours are. You want to make sure that the right pictures are in place. Take pictures of your business. You know, obviously right now, everything's different. I totally understand that. But in a normal environment, you might have people working at a desk somewhere or in a factory somewhere. Yeah, you want some pictures of that. That will help out as well. Your specific location, and then this is really critical. If you're in Suite 625, say that you are in Suite 625. We happen to be in the university office place in the Marriott. Our Grand Rapids location also is in a bigger building with several other businesses. It does not help us if we just list that it's on 800 Monroe Ave in Grand Rapids. That suite number is very, very critical. Google wants it as consistent as possible. Remember, when Google gets out of bed in the morning, organically, its job is to organize the world's information, which is a pretty busy day. So you want to make sure when it comes to your turn to get indexed and looked at, everything is meticulously in place. So do make sure that you're using Google My Business. Local SEO is a huge trend and it will continue to be, particularly with mobile searches. I mean, this is just, it almost seems redundant to say mobile is important. Of course it is. We all know this now, but we see the data. We see that for nearly all of our clients, a huge percentage jumps and chunks of traffic that's coming in via mobile, which really causes you to pivot to think about how is our site receiving that traffic? Is it converting that traffic? And then also on the front end, are we showing up properly in these search engine result pages? So the other thing that this can have an impact on, again, this is you see here, this is obviously what is called a branded query. I did a search on us, our own company. So let's just say, like you say, I am a divorce attorney. So if somebody types, divorce attorneys, Lansing, Michigan, I don't know why that's a pretty morbid topic. Let's find something else. Accounting. All right, let's do accountants. Let's say somebody searches, accountants, CPAs, Lansing, Michigan. There's also that chance that local listing will pick up right here. As you can imagine, or you'll show up in the map 3-pack. As you can imagine, the click share, in other words, your batting average there, your click-through rate to have the impression to get the click onto your website is much, much, much higher if you're in those local positions. So that's another key reason as to why to pay attention to that. Switching topics, social media. Everybody wants to advertise on social media. I do want to bring this to everybody's attention because there's been some confusion as to it. And I don't have all the answers, but you may have seen that there's now a Facebook Apple fight regarding the latest iOS update for iPhone. And so within that, what does it mean for small to medium businesses? It is an interesting situation. So you're going to want to stay on top of this. There's plenty of information out there on the web. It's good for users. So when you go to download an app, now you have to opt in, whereas before you did not. So if I downloaded an app on hockey, down at NHL.com, I will now have a higher propensity to get served ads for hockey on Facebook in the past. Now with this new update, I have to opt into that. So it's good for you, the end users that always feel like they're getting creeped on in their ads, but it is bad for small to medium businesses that are really trying to use retargeting to reach their customers. Because keep in mind, when you're doing retargeting in Facebook, so I go to a website we'll keep using the hockey example. I'll go to a website for hockey equipment for my son. And then I leave and I go out to Facebook and I just start looking at, friends' pictures of their kids and whatever in terms of, playing, doing whatever we do on Facebook. Now I will have a higher chance to start seeing ads for hockey equipment or that specific business. And there's also what are called lookalike audiences. So we have our audience group, okay? That group is somebody that's actually physically visited that website. That's one group. Facebook will then go, hey, oh, by the way, we have those people tracked. So everybody that visited that hockey equipment website, here's what they have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They have these usage characteristics. So do you want to advertise to them too? So it really expands out your advertising reach. It isn't going to be rifle shot. It isn't going to be perfect, but it does give you an opportunity to start to advertise to those that maybe haven't been to your site, but browse in the same ways, are interested in the same things, or have the same potential buying habits. So there's different categories there in terms of affinities and such. This will be a little bit harder now to manage within Facebook. And this all comes back to the GDPR rulings over in Europe you may have heard about, where they're really trying to crack down on privacy and tracking. So you think, okay, well, maybe, we'll have to start just getting creative, but no, hang on now. Just as of this yesterday morning, Google's coming out with a whole new way to get around this called, I can't remember the acronym now. It's so new, FLOA. It's got a fancy name. And what you need to know about as a business is Google is going to continue to try and find ways around this. And then Facebook will probably follow suit to generate retargeting and lookalike audiences. But it is just something to be aware of on the trend side, that this is just the start of what will end up being a huge war, I'm sure, between the major players out there that we're all really kind of living in all these ecosystems: Facebook, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Apple. And so they get along and then they fight. And this is one of the topics they're going to be fighting on. And it may have an impact on our ability to market how we want to market. Google Analytics 4, new trend. Okay, so you may have seen this. If you've launched a new website in the last couple of months, you don't know any different. You will only probably have been served up and had to use Google Analytics 4. And again, Google Analytics Classic, to back up just a little bit, is the way that you'll measure the health of your website in terms of traffic, but not just overall traffic, but origin of traffic, sources of traffic. So is my traffic coming from a direct mail piece I did? That would be direct traffic. Or is do I have enough brand recognition out there that people just go to my site because they know us? Is my traffic coming from Google organic? Is my traffic coming from paid Google? Is my traffic coming from Facebook organic? Is my traffic coming from Facebook ads or boosted posts that I'm running? Those types of, that type of data. Then, not just where's it coming from, how does it perform once it gets there? Do they fill out a form? Do they call? Do they download a white paper? Do they get the information they need? Are they leaving within 5 seconds? That's not good, but you need to know that. Otherwise, you're kind of flying the car with, blinders on. You can't see where you're driving to. So it's just been an invaluable free tool that has helped out so many small, medium, and large businesses. As much as I rail on Google, this has been a great tool. And then they released Google Analytics 4, and we don't know why. It's horrible. So it's awful. Now, we can use the old platform, but I see a day, I'm sure, like all these things, they're going to go, you're getting pushed over. So this was the old Google Analytics, just home screen. You could say, hey, here's our users, here's our bounce rate, here's our average session duration. There'd be a date associated with this. You can do comparison models really easily. And then what's really critical, and I should have screenshotted it, I didn't. What's really critical is like, what's the visitor retention rates? In other words, how does the bounce rate compare this week versus last week? Is it higher or lower? In other words, bounce rate, somebody comes in, they look at one page and they bounce off right away. In some cases, that's okay. In other cases, you say, no, that's not okay. I wanted them to have a deeper visit. There was at least 5 or 6 more pages of content that they should have looked at and they didn't. What happened? So those are important things when you're using Google Analytics. The new one is like you need a PhD in big data to figure it out. I'm sorry. So unfortunately, now we have these fancy terms like acquisition and engagement, monetization and retention. There is no bounce rate. They took a bounce rate away, which to me is one of the most important metrics when you're running a campaign. If a client's handed me $4,000 and they said, we want to rank out for these important keywords, or they want to pay in Google Ads, for these keywords, and I can't tell them if those keywords, we're getting the clicks, we can see that, but we don't know if they're sticking around long enough for it to make it worth that marketing investment. That's not ideal at all. So, but it's where we are, and it's where there's a method of the madness. They're going somewhere with it. There are some nice, there are some good, there are some good metrics, I'm sure, that'll be born out of this. But right now, if you have the option of installing Google Analytics Classic or GA4, go with the Classic. It's easier to use. Quick question in the chat. What is good bounce rate? Okay. So I don't have a good answer for you there because every case is different, which I know is exactly the answer you didn't want to hear. But I will tell you this, like if your bounce rate is above 70% overall, you probably have, and you have more than a one-page site, you probably have some usability issues. You probably have some major content issues. If it's 80%, 90%, yeah, you probably have a problem. If you're purposely sending somebody to a landing page and they should just be looking at the information and leaving, that's okay. Then it should be 90%. It all depends on what you're trying to achieve with your website. Remember, the general rule is that your goals need to match the user's goals. And if there's a goal gap, this is where you would find out in your data, in your data. I can't go back here. Why not? So like 56% bounce rate, again, that's an aggregate number. What's critical there is you're going to want to look at it for each of your traffic channels. So if you're running a display campaign, like a banner ad campaign, your bounce rate is probably going to be pretty high. Like it's okay. Like you're really doing that to generate brand awareness and impressions and eyeballs, maybe not so much conversion. If your bounce rate's really high for your direct traffic, in other words, these are people that know your website already and they're typing it in verbatim and coming to you, and the bounce rate's high, you may need to take a look at your website. You might have some issues there. Another great example, and when I say high, sorry, like 70%. If your bounce rate for a search campaign is 35%, it's probably pretty good. You're not going to get everybody to stay. So keep that in mind. But if you're doing a Google Ads campaign, the bounce rate's like 35, 40%, probably generally, it's probably pretty good. So I don't have a good answer number there for you, but hopefully that frames some context for it. So, and again, I'll certainly answer more questions after. I want to make sure we're on time here. 1:36, perfect. Okay, video ads. So switching gears altogether. Video ads, another new advertising channel. And what's great about this, and again, I'm talking about YouTube advertising here. So the barrier to entry here is your ability to produce video. If that's a problem, then yeah, there are some things you can do on your own through some builder programs, but yeah, you probably want to make sure you just have at least good quality video content. If you don't have that, skip these next 3 minutes. And again, remember too, it doesn't have to be fancy production with, the only thing I would say about video that make sure you have is you got to make sure you have good audio. Like if you don't have a lapel mic to really have good audio, then it's going to sound canny and amateur. I don't think you need, fennel lights or anything like that anymore. That's just how the general public now consumes video is there's a lot of amateur video out there. My gosh, look at TikTok. So just whatever you're doing, video, is very compelling. It will get people to stay. We all know this. So again, these are going to be the ads that say that, I'm trying to think of a quick example here. Say I'm my landscaping company again, and I'm going to advertise in the bumper ad. So it's one of those videos that you've got to watch for at least 5 seconds before I can skip it, or before I skip it, I keep watching because I'm intrigued, and that's measured in a view rate. And say it might be a video of some stonewall projects we've done, and then you may specifically say, well, let's place this on really specific video YouTube ad channels. So you can say, we know there's somebody out there, say it's Bob Vila or This Old House. Maybe it's that, where sometimes they do outside projects. I want to advertise right on This Old House on that channel. You can do that. If you want to use YouTube advertising in retargeting. So again, somebody has come to your website. They spent time with your website. They leave. If you've put the code in place, you can be tracking those users and building an audience list. And then when they go back up to video or to YouTube just to watch a video about whatever, your ad can show. And it's another touch point with somebody that's already been to your site. High engagement, very low cost per view. Again, the barrier there is going to be your content. You have to make sure it's good content. It doesn't have to be long, but at least 30 seconds of something that's of good quality that you would show for your business. And again, what's nice about it, really nice about it, is it's a high use of, we could set it right up through Google Ads, and all you do is you point to the YouTube, the video, the actual YouTube link, and that shows that, and then that crops it for you. As you can see in this case, I'm not going to disclose who this is, but there's 2 cents per view. It's pretty good. And 45% view rate means somebody got through 5 seconds of this, right? And then watch, or whatever that metric was in terms of the view rate. They didn't just look at it and skip it. That's pretty good too. So these are good examples here of, again, I wouldn't use it to say, hey, you're going to solve the world in terms of conversions. But if you want to continue to use this on the display side to continue to generate brand awareness for your firm, could be a very good avenue. All right, so in the final 5 minutes, well, no, we're good. Yeah, final 5 minutes before questions, I want to actually show a very specific tool as a takeaway, in addition to all the other kind of trend things we've talked about today, and that's Google Search Console. It is a minorly, I would say, I put it like a kind of a B-level complication to get it installed. You have to just know how to get into your GoDaddy account or your domain network solutions, whatever your domain provider is. Once you get through that, there's a module in there, you put code in. And again, and that'll verify the site. You have to verify your site, and you can only see your site, like Google Analytics. You can only see your data, not somebody else's. Very underutilized tool, serves, in my mind, there's a lot of elements to it, but it serves 2 very key purposes. Number 1, it shows any technical issues that the site is having. So I can tell you that there are many clients that we've worked with before to get them to rank out organically high in Google searches for specific keywords. We go through the whole playbook. We've rewrote their site. We've done good keyword saturation with their body copy. We've done all the page titles. We've written out meta descriptions. We've then gone through and built great links back to their site. They've got a link they don't have a link to the site from the Chamber of Commerce. We contact the Chamber and say, hey, can we get a link? They're a member. Can we get a link to your site? We do all those metrics to make sure that all the playbook check boxes are checked to make sure that they rank out. They still don't rank out. They're ranking like 6, and their other 5 competitors are beating them up in the search engine result page. And the client's like, what's going on? And we say to ourselves, what is going on? What's going on? Core Vitals is a new development that Google Search Console is releasing. I'm actually going to step out of the presentation and bring this right here and show this. Getting back in the presentation will probably be a feat, but we'll see. So this is Core Web Vitals right here, and I'm sharing this site with you. I wouldn't normally share this. This is a side site we write for content, so I'm okay to share this. I would never share a true client's data, obviously, as you can imagine. So as you can see here, the Core Web Vitals for this site that we manage is good on desktop, but it's poor mobile. They've got URLs that need improvement. These are very subtle things. And unfortunately, most of these things do need a developer of some kind to go in and go, oh, these images are loading too slow. This page is loading too slow. Most of it boils down to your site speed. And if you don't have Core Vitals in the Google Search Console, or you don't even have Google Search Console yet, that's okay. If you're just wondering how Google is saying how fast your site is, you can just go to the Google Page Speed Insights tool, and that will be another way you can pop your domain in, and they will give you a speed grade, both in desktop and in mobile. In the mobile number, I can tell you, Google will never tell you how to rank out well. That's just not their style. But they will drip best practices out. And we followed these best practices for 12 years. And the latest trend is absolutely site speed and mobile usability and friendliness. And if your site is not performing on mobile, stop all of your marketing activities right now and find a developer. We don't develop websites at NetManage, we just do search, but find a developer and get that mobile site up, running, and consistent and compatible. Because if it isn't compatible, you're not going to rank out. A. B, even if you get traffic, it won't perform how you want it to, because it's not going to perform well on this. And as we all know, that's critical. So this is from the horse's mouth in terms of how your site's getting indexed, issues that need to be addressed, other types of key performance indicators from a technological side. And this is the part that I hate presenting on, because it's not really in the marketer's sphere of knowledge, but you need to at least be aware of it and say, hey, to your developer, to he or she, can you please look into this, because we're having issues and it will hold you back. I can just tell you that even just as of lately, we had to completely pause a project because it was like, look, we can do all these things. You can pay us this money, but we're not going to get you the results you need. You need to fix this first. That's item number 1 in Google Search Console. Item number 2 is something called performance. Now we get back into our marketing world. So I'm assuming most of you out there are in the marketing area. So hopefully this loaded up. It's a screen share, so it's Murphy's Law. But this is called performance, and this is great. Whereas we can't see keyword data previously, we can now see keyword data. Not so much, well, we can see clicks. We can't see post-click performance. So I can't tell you like this keyword, they came in and they had a bounce rate of X, but I can tell you that they did come in and we had 66 clicks to this site from the keyword things to do for Valentine's Day in Michigan. It had 223 impressions in this, and this is a 90-day window, by the way. 223 impressions, which means it came up in Google somewhere, either page 1 or page 12, doesn't matter where, and off of that, we got 66 clicks. This data is critical. You can export this data out and then play with it in your spreadsheets in any way, shape, or form as possible that you want to. The click-through rate, to go through the definitions again, click-through rate is the batting average of the amount of times that somebody saw the impression in a Google search engine result page and clicked. And keep in mind, again, this is all organic. This is not paid. And average position is literally where you were over that 90-day window. So 25.5 means for all these queries, we're about mid-third page. But as you can see here, I better end quick here. We're getting in the question window, but things to do for Valentine's Day in Michigan, our average search position was 2.4. So we were pretty good. It was a blog post that was written. Food challenges in Michigan, we ranked out third. Michigan bachelorette party ideas. This got a lot of impressions. We ranked out seventh. And as you can see, the higher the positioning, the higher the click-through rate. And generally, there's going to be a correlation between the amount of clicks you receive. The impressions are independent of that. The impressions are going to be very dependent on where, on just what the market's typing in. You're at the mercy of the vernacular of the market in terms of keywords. So again, as a marketer, there are times when you will look at this list and even just beyond search say, wow, I didn't realize that this is how people are searching for what we have to offer. I never would have thought people would have searched in this way. And that's really critical. Staying ahead of what the market is typing in to find you sometimes is half the battle in terms of generating the traffic that you want. You'll see odd things here too. You're going to see queries that are going to be like, what is this? But for the most part, you're going to hopefully see relevant queries. And then finally, like for example, say we were a bed and breakfast in Port Huron. Things to do in Port Huron. We received the 907 impressions, which is a pretty good amount, 22 clicks. We're 11.2. Opportunity. This is an opportunity. What could we do to improve our ranking for that keyword to get us above 11.2 onto that first page? And then that will drive up this number, which then will drive up that number. And you'll get more saturation and more exposure out of that 907 impressions over 90 days. So let me go back here real quick. That is, because I want to make sure, I think we're good. Let me go to my, I lost my, okay, it's right here. Here we go. I knew we were going to do this, right? So here's our final takeaways, my display settings. So really quick, take over the SERP in terms of the monetization, the importance of using Google My Business within local SEO, the Google Ads automation piece, Google Analytics 4, stay away if you can, but read up on it because it's coming. Same thing with Facebook pixels, retargeting, and GDPR. And again, that's oftentimes now when you go to websites, you get asked, we're going to use cookies. Are you okay with that? And you're like, yeah, whatever. That's what that is. Video ads, great opportunity with the right content. And then finally, install Google Search Console. It will help you technically and will also help you from a marketing intelligence standpoint as well. So I know that was a lot, but and hopefully nobody's cracked a green beer yet because it wasn't that boring. But that's where we are with our presentation. So at this point, hopefully we're on track here. I'll open it up to questions.
Well, thank you, Joe. I mean, obviously there is a ton of information involved in all these different components, and it's so critically important for a marketer or a business owner to be able to understand, digest, and really use all of this information that's at hand. I will again for the folks, please drop information or questions, additional questions in the Q&A or the chat function. Joe, just a couple of quick questions here as we kind of wrap this up. What is the best or maybe the quickest or easiest way to raise your SEO for your website? And kind of going along with that is, what type of content you kind of do the Google spiders, what do they like when they search and they crawl your website?
Yeah, I think the first thing you have to do is make sure you know what keywords you want to rank out for. Sometimes a lot of people get very confused by that right away. So do your research. You look at your overall business and say, okay, what is my target market, which could be a lot of different slices. What are they going to type in? And then look at your site and say, okay, are we saying this enough without saying it too much? The common mistake we get, especially for small businesses with small sites, is they think the homepage is going to rank out for 16 different keywords. Don't. My advice, and everybody does it differently, but my advice would be take all the pages on your site. Generally, you're going to have a homepage, products or services, about us, maybe a blog. Your products and services pages need to work for you. So make sure if it's services, whatever it is, offerings, whatever you're offering, split those pages up. Don't lump all your services, all your products into one long vertical page. Remember, Google's got to index all that and figure out what the heck all that means. We like to take a less is more approach where you have several different pages on the site and you're really only targeting 1 to 2 keywords per page. Oftentimes, even just taking that approach will help move a site up a little bit. And then the second piece of that is you have to have good copy. Like you only have one paragraph that says, hey, we do this. And that's it. It's not magic. Like it's not going to magically rank out. There's oftentimes a challenge between aesthetics and copy. Nobody wants to read copy. We get that. But you want to make sure somewhere on that page, even if it's tucked down at the bottom in an ethical way, you maybe write 3 to 4 paragraphs about whatever service you're offering without, there's a damn balance to it. You can't say the same thing over and over and over again, but that will help from a content standpoint. A lot of people will think like if they blog every day, it will help. Yeah, it can, but it's more about what you're talking about and then the keyword saturation, that if you're writing a blog post about a certain topic, that you've got some keywords woven into the content of the post itself. And yeah, there's mathematical formulas out there that we sometimes follow in terms of keyword density to copy, but I don't, you're trying to run your own business. Don't get too wrapped up in that. Just make sure you're writing in, plain terms, but using those keywords that you want to target within that blog post into it as well to help out. So as Google indexes the site, they say, okay, this is what this means. So.
Gotcha. Well, you talked a lot about kind of this local SEO. Can you maybe define what exactly that means and why it's growing and why businesses need to make that more of a priority?
The first reason why I would say why it's growing is it's going to make Google more money. So remember, it all comes back to that. But let's be honest. I mean, depending on what you do, it all depends on what you're offering as a business. But probably if you have a local footprint, and particularly within trying to draw somebody in off a mobile search, having that localized presence is important. So you want to make sure that, for example, on your website, your address to the T, suite number, whatever, zip code is listed. That is very critical. There's code you can even put into your site on that contact us page called local schema code. I know I'm starting to get deep into the weeds here, but it isn't that hard to put in. The user doesn't see it. It's on the back end of the site, and that potentially can help out a site rank out as well. But as of, I say recently, it really hasn't been recently, maybe probably, 5-6 years ago, Google really started to put more emphasis on showing map results, map listings. We call that 3-pack, where they show up on the map, the dots on the map within the overall search. And that would be, something that's critical because your click share from that is going to be, really high. The other nice thing too, Google My Business has great reporting. So you can see how many times you came up, how many clicks you had, how many times people asked for directions to your business, how many times people just mention your business by name by searching on it. That can be really beneficial marketing data.
Yeah, I would agree. I thought it was really, really interesting when you were talking about understanding how people are finding you and making sure that you're not just looking at your website from your angle, but from the user and how they would naturally find you. I thought that was really compelling.
Yes.
You kind of talked about eyeballs versus conversion. And what maybe the different goals are that you would have with driving somebody to your website. How would you maybe market that or set up those two communication funnels differently?
Yeah, that's a great question, Michelle. So as you go through these things, you're going to be thinking about your funnel and your customer journey. And it's critical to think about, because everything boils back down to a marketing budget. Oftentimes, like that's just probably not sometimes how we want to set up things, but the reality of the situation is you have X amount of dollars to spend on X marketing activity. And in general, video or display or even Facebook display should be treated as if it's a display. And I'm not going to go to the point of saying it's just, it's like more of a billboard on the digital highway, but in some cases it is. And billboards serve an amazingly good purpose in the real world. And think of it like that. I think a lot of people think, I'm going to do this Facebook advertising. It's going to get our word out there. We're going to just get rain sales in. Well, it depends on what you're saying in the ad. Like, are you giving something away? Is there a discount? Are you putting an offer in it? Are you putting product in it? Are you just saying, hey, we're really cool and you'll love this. Come check it out. All right. So that messaging is really important. And then setting up your goals for that is really critical. In retargeting, remember, you're touching them again. So you don't want to say the same thing twice. Now it becomes brand dilution. There should be another new message that comes at them. And that's oftentimes the perfect opportunity to throw the offer at them. Here's your offer, free shipping, whatever it is. In search, remember, in search, unlike almost every other form of marketing, and I didn't make this up. This came from a product development manager at Google Ads that I heard speak one time, and I think it's just brilliant. In search, you aren't trying to find the customers. In display and in Facebook and everything else that you're doing, or offline advertising, it all has its purpose. A TV ad on Channel 10 News, whatever. You're trying to find the customers. In search, the paradigm is flipped. The customers are trying to find you. So your expectations on the conversion funnel there should be higher. They're already X amount of steps into the psychology of their buying spectrum. So you should be meeting them at some point in that. Now, every keyword has a different content point. Me typing in new car, I'm going to have a different mentality in terms of what I'm trying to accomplish versus me typing in 2019 F Ford 150 four-wheel drive near Grand Ledge, Michigan. So, that query intent of itself is broken up. And so that's where those two funnels are certainly different. So.
And, just to kind of wrap it up here, we got just maybe 3 minutes. Where should a business start? I mean, if you were going to sit someone down and this is the first thing I want you to do, is it the Google My Business piece? Is it the keywords, the content? Where should a business owner, if they're going to eat this elephant, what's their first bite?
Yeah. It's got to be their own website or their own property, or whatever the app is. If it's their own website, you got to make sure your website is performing. I would say that's rule number one. We see this so much where somebody comes with, they have these grand ideas. We look at the site and we go, ooh, boy, I don't know. Your website has to be able to function and perform. Could it always be better? Absolutely. You're always chasing that, but it needs to be able to perform and function at a certain level. That's number one. Number two then is get Google Analytics installed on your website so you can see how it's doing. Anecdotally looking at a website going, I don't think it's performing. I don't like the white versus the blue. That's qualitative. That's useless. Get the data in front of you so you know where the drop-off points are, where the issues are, or where the successes are as well. I would think Google Analytics is by far and away of all these tools we just talked about, that kind of your foundation, your house. Make sure your house is in order. Then you could start branching out and doing other things. Then I would say make sure you get Google My Business set up. Then you can pursue Google Ads. Then maybe you want to look into Facebook advertising. But those two first building blocks, I think, are just really critical.
Perfect. And that takes us right to the 2 o'clock hour. So very nicely done. Joe, we really appreciate, all of the content. And again, as I said earlier, whatever we can do to help businesses be more competitive in that cutthroat search world, I think is just going to continue to help us as a region recover economically.
Absolutely. No question.
Joe,
thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're going to do, we'll wrap this up. We did record today's program. So if you want to come back and rewatch this or hear from Joe again, and we'll have this up on our website. So we're super excited about that. Thank you again to Eric's and the team at Fraser for your continued support. This has just been a great partnership for us. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks all. Enjoy your day.
And have a wonderful St. Patrick's Day.
Take care.
Thank you.